There we go. So, what makes a mammal a mammal? There's a couple of things that make a mammal a mammal. Whenever I'm talking about a mammal versus, say, a reptile or a bird or a fish, what do you think I'm talking about here? Uh, so, like an example of a mammal, we are an example of a mammal. So we have things like hair, right? All mammals have hair. If we look at, say, a reptile like an alligator, alligators don't have hair. We look at a bird like a chicken, chickens don't have hair, but mammals have hair. Other things that make mammals mammals is almost all mammals give birth to live young. So instead of hatching an egg, we just give birth, and the animal's already ready to go. Um, so like for instance, whales give birth to live young. Um, Humans give birth to live young. Uh, Everything that is a mammal gives birth to live young, except the platypus, which is a weird exception. They give birth to they lay eggs, which is kind of weird to think about a mammal laying eggs. Another thing that all mammals do is produce milk. So, where do you guys get your milk from? From like a cow, right? Uh, the cows produce milk because they are a mammal. Maybe sometimes you might have something like goat milk. Goats are also a mammal. So all of these creatures that produce milk are also mammals. So we said they have hair or fur. They give birth instead of laying an egg, and they produce milk. And all mammals are also warm-blooded, which means that they make their own body heat. So uh, we make our own body heat. We're very warm. If you've ever heard of your sort of internal body temperature, that 98.6 degrees Fahrenheit, that's the temperature that you are at. Other mammals are different temperatures inside, but they're all warm-blooded, so they all are warmer. Um, Creatures that are cold-blooded are whatever temperature the air around them is. So, like for instance, a snake can only ever be as warm as its surroundings, which is why snakes like to sit on rocks and bask. So do lizards and other cold-blooded animals. But we don't need that. We can survive. Mammals can survive in a whole lot of environments and conditions. They can be in warm weather, cold weather, it doesn't matter. They're going to be the same temperature on the inside. So now that I've gone over what makes a mammal, that is fur or hair, um, gives birth to live young instead of hatching eggs, produces milk, and is warm blooded, why don't we take a look at some animals and we can figure out if they're mammals or not? So I'm going to grab my first animal here. So give me 1 second. I have in my hands here, a little bit closer. Can you get a good look at him? This is a bunny rabbit. And this guy's name is Bugs, Bugs Bunny. Um, Not the Bugs Bunny, but a Bugs Bunny. Uh, this rabbit here, let's take some observations and see whether or not this rabbit is a mammal. So I'm feeling our animal right now, and Bugs here is covered in fur. So that's check number one for a mammal. He also feels very warm to the touch, which tells me that he is warm-blooded. So that's number two. Um, I know for a fact that Bugs here can't give birth because he is a male, but rabbits do give birth to live young. So that's another check here. And they also milk the mothers will produce milk for their babies. So Bugs here is definitely a mammal. So rabbits, they're very common. You see them all over the place. Maybe not this specific kind of rabbit, but cottontails and things like that. And they've got these really, really powerful legs, which Bugs doesn't like to show off because he's a ball of fur, but you can kind of see him right there. Um, they've got these really powerful hind legs that they use to hop around. So what they'll do is they'll go around near like bushes and stuff, and they'll munch on grass and leaves and plants and anything that they can really find on the ground, that's a plant. And if they see something that scares them, like a predator, like a fox or a coyote or even a dog or even a person, they'll use these really powerful hind legs and almost like a big spring, they'll hop away. And so they can hop into things like bramble bushes. And because of their hopping ability, they can get up and inside of these bramble bushes really easily. Whereas things like our dogs or us have a really hard time getting through brambles and briars and things like that because, well, we just can't maneuver that way. So these guys are built so that they can better make it through thick brush and hop over difficult terrain and basically get to places where whatever's chasing them can't easily get to. Some other things you might notice is Bugs here has these big, massive ears. That's because Bugs relies on hearing. So he will listen around, and if he hears any predators or anybody getting close by and he doesn't know what's going on, he's gonna book it. He's gonna hop away really, really quickly if he can help it. So he's gonna go all over the place. He's gonna hop around and he's gonna use those powerful hind legs to get him somewhere fast. Does anybody have any questions about our rabbit here, Bugs?
He can be eaten by fox.
What was that?
He could be eaten by fox.
Yeah, so foxes in the wild, and pretty much any animal like a carnivore will hunt down rabbits because they are small and they kind of look like easy prey, right? They sit out in a field and they just sort of munch. But here's the thing, is he's got these big eyes for seeing in front of him, and he's got these big ears for hearing everywhere around him. And he can take off lickety-split with those powerful hind legs. So things like foxes actually have a really hard time catching rabbit. But they will if they get the chance to.
In wolves. And fox.
Any other questions about our rabbit friend?
Me? But wolves can get to it.
Anything besides that?
Me.
Olivia, what do you have to ask?
Carrots.
It does eat carrots, yeah.
It will eat carrots. It likes to eat most veggies. So not just carrots. And actually what rabbits will do, and this is kind of gross, but bear with me here. What rabbits will do is whenever they poop out their food the first time, they will eat it again. So they eat their own poop. And the reason why is because they have, they don't digest it as well the first time through. And so what they actually do is they let their body digest it once and then they'll eat it again. And actually baby rabbits, you're not supposed to separate from their mother for a while because baby rabbits will actually eat their mom's poo to help them get nutrients and things that they need to survive. So they actually eat their own poo.
That is great.
My chicken eats that. Thanks.
Any other questions about our rabbit here?
That's it.
Okay, I'm going to put him back and we're going to move on to another animal. So everybody say bye to Bugs.
Tell him bye.
Bye.
All right, I've got another mammal here for you. This one's a guinea pig. Guinea pigs are a pretty large rodent. This one's name is Reese's because he's got this sort of peanut buttery color to him. Reese's is a guinea pig. Guinea pigs are originally from South America, and nobody knows why. Nobody nowadays knows exactly why we call them guinea pigs. We can't really agree on exactly the reason, which is kind of odd, I think. Guinea pigs used to be a very common rodent found in the rainforest and the jungles of South America. But nowadays, you're not going to find them there anymore because they were completely and totally removed from the wild. We hunted them down, all the ones that were out there in the wild, and the only ones left are captive bred. So they really only exist in the pet trade. And I know we think of them as cuddly little pets, but they actually originally were a source of food. People would eat these things, but we're not going to eat Reese here. He is a rodent, and like most rodents, he's got these really big front teeth, and he bites things, and he sort of gnaws away at pieces of fruit, veggies, things like that with his powerful front teeth. And it actually wears away the tooth, but it's okay because he just keeps growing teeth throughout his entire life. Now, the question I asked at the beginning is it a mammal? Let's find out if our guinea pig is a mammal. So the first thing we were trying to figure out here, does he have fur? The answer is yes, he's got fur. It's not quite as soft as the rabbit's fur, but it's pretty good. I can feel him. He is warm to the touch. So he is definitely warm-blooded. So he's got fur. He's warm-blooded. Rhesus is also a male. So Rhesus is also not going to give birth, but guinea pigs do give live birth, and they also produce milk. So definitely a mammal, these guys. They have very specialized hair. I don't know if you can really see it. Yeah, you can kind of see it on there. He's got whiskers. Some mammals, they use hair for a lot of different things to keep ourselves warm. Some mammals use it to help sort of attract other mammals. So like, you know how some people will make their hair look real good to impress another person. Mammals kind of do the same thing. They use their fur to impress mates. They also will use their fur, like these whiskers here in the front. They will use these whiskers to sort of feel in front of them a little ways. So if something touches that whisker, they're going to be able to see it or to feel it, and they'll be able to sort of sense something in front of them that they might not necessarily be able to see. Let's say it's like really dark out. He's a little fidgety here. Does anybody have any questions about our guinea pig?
All right, say it again, Dominic.
He's trying to run out of your hands.
Yeah, he does that. He doesn't like to be lifted up.
He wants to escape good.
Yeah, we have two guinea pigs. The other one's name is Hershey. So we got Hershey and Reese's here. Hershey is a little more cooperative than Reese's, but Reese's hasn't been taken out in a while, so I felt like I needed to handle Reese's today. He's looking right at me right now. Any other questions?
He's a hole where your hand can go away.
Yeah, he's not gonna let him go away. He's holding me tight.
I'm holding him pretty good.
So he won't skedaddle out of there.
What was that?
He won't skedaddle. Don't go away.
Yeah, he does want to skedaddle. So these guys, as I said before, are a rodent, just like mice or rats or anything like that. The largest rodent in America is actually the beaver. So beavers and guinea pigs are actually very closely related to one another. Beavers also have that big front tooth, which is great for eating at wood. But guinea pigs don't really eat wood. They just kind of eat plants. The reason why he's trying to get away from me so much is because that's kind of in their nature. They're a prey for a lot of animals. A lot of different animals will eat a guinea pig if given the chance, because they're just kind of a great meal for a predator. Here, let's get you better situated here. All right. They're kind of just a great meal, which is why they need to hide. In the wild, they would not have this sort of coloration. They would be a lot darker, a lot brown and black, kind of camo-ish colors. But nowadays we use them as pets, and so we make them all of these crazy colors because we think that they look good. But in the wild, he'd try to camouflage himself, because if he wasn't camouflaged, he's going to get eaten really fast. Any other questions about our guinea pig?
No.
All right. I'm going to move on to, we've got two more animals here that I want to show you guys. This guy's a little tired because he is nocturnal, but I've got in my hands here an African hedgehog, an African pygmy hedgehog. Um, so as the name suggests, these little guys are from Africa. Um, they lived in sort of the greater Kenya area. Um, and they nowadays there's actually more of them in the pet trade than there are in the wild. Um, and these little guys have all sorts of bristles. So let's find out if it's a mammal or not. So the first thing we were looking for is hair. Well, we can see that he's got some hair around his face here, but he's also got all these bristles on his back, and these bristles are actually hair. They're just really specialized hair made from the same stuff that your hair is made from. And they're just very specialized to be very sharp and pointy. So if he feels threatened, he's gonna curl up in a ball, and you're really not gonna be able to get at him because these little spikes are pretty sharp. I'm in luck. Right now, he's just kind of sitting on my hand instead of making a ball and making it hard for me to hold. So we've got that out of the way, and he also has whiskers, which I said were for sensing, just like before. He can actually help smell with those whiskers because they can collect moisture. He is warm to the touch, so he is definitely warm-blooded. And hedgehogs are they're not quite rodents, but they're pretty closely related to rodents. And so they also give birth to live young and produce milk. So they are definitely a mammal as well. So far we've shown 3 different kinds of mammals. So hedgehogs are nocturnal, which means that they are most active at night, which explains why every single time I want to use this hedgehog to show off to classes like you guys, he just wants to go back to bed. I had to pull him out of his bed to get him here. So he's actually pretty active right now, but usually if I've got him out for classes, he just kind of sits and looks grumpy, which I bet you would too if somebody woke you up in the middle of the day just to show you off to some people. They're very small. And if you're wondering, if you've noticed, he's got like a green patch on him. That's because sometimes we have more than one hedgehog. And so that's how we actually tell them apart, is by just putting little colors on their back. He is right now sniffing around. That is because this is actually the first one of the mammals I've shown so far that is not an herbivore. Herbivore means that they eat plants. So this guy does not just eat plants. He actually mainly eats bugs. He will go around, and not Bugs the Bunny, I mean like insects and things. He will go around sniffing around at that nose like he's doing and looking for good bugs. And then he's going to slurp them up in his mouth and use his tiny little teeth to bite down and eat these bugs. And he does that mainly at night, which is why hedgehogs actually have terrible eyesight. Really bad eyesight. But they don't really need good eyesight because they've got this big old powerful nose, and they go around sniffing around and eating things. And they are also just adorable. Does anybody have any questions about my hedgehog friend? Green Bean is his name.
Some of them picked him up because he looks pretty mad.
Yeah, he's usually not this active. You guys are actually in luck. He's being real friendly right now. Usually he just kind of sits there and acts grumpy, occasionally poking his head out.
So what is the difference between a porcupine and a hedgehog?
Ooh, that is a great question. So porcupines and hedgehogs both rely on the same strategy, which is these big old bristles on their back. This hedgehog has about 800 of these little bristles. Porcupines can have over 30,000. 30,000 spines. It's a lot of spines. Now, they both have very similar strategies, but they aren't super closely related to one another. They're both mammals. And porcupines, actually, theirs is also just a very specialized spike. There's a couple different kinds of porcupine, and they all sort of developed separately from one another. So they all figured out at the same time in different places that spikes were a good idea. The American porcupine, as I said, has over 30,000 bristles on its back. And I know they show sometimes in like cartoons, they shoot their bristles. They can't do that. You can't shoot your hair. They can't shoot their bristles. So porcupines can't actually fire their bristles, but they will raise them if they feel threatened. And so it's just generally not a good idea to pet porcupine. Hedgehogs, you can kind of pet a little bit. So they're a little bit better. There is also an African porcupine that is, I think, more closely related to the hedgehog than the American porcupine is. But they're actually not super closely related to each other. They just both have the same strategy. Porcupines are usually much bigger than hedgehogs.
Okay.
Any other questions about hedgehogs?
Nope.
I heard a resounding nope.
Yeah.
All right. I'm going to move on to what we've got one more animal I want to show you guys, and we're going to see if this one is a mammal or not. All right. I've got my friend here. Her name is Blue Jean, and she is a blue-tongued skink. And if I get really close to the camera and she flicks her tongue out, you can see why she's called a blue-tongued skink. It's because she's got that big blue tongue there, and she uses it to confuse predators. Let's say that like some big predator's coming by and sees this skink and is like, ooh, a delicious skink. And then she flashes that blue tongue and she opens her mouth, which is also blue. And suddenly that predator's like, ooh, I don't know how to feel about this blue tongue. I've never seen a blue tongue before. Maybe it's sick or something. I don't want to get sick. And it'll just leave them alone. So let's find out, before we go any further talking about blue-tongued skinks, let's decide if this blue-tongued skink is a mammal or not. What do you guys think right off the bat?
It's a mammal, Dominic?
Nope.
No, you don't. What do you think it is?
Okay. Next.
Dominic, what do you think it is?
A mammal.
It's not a mammal. That's all you know.
You think it's a mammal or not?
I don't think it's a mammal.
No? What tipped you off?
So it doesn't have any fur. So
Yeah, that's
Hmm.
right.
So I'm looking all over this skink here, and I don't see any hair whatsoever. So I guess that's strike one against my skink here. Strike two is the fact that you guys can't feel her, but she is cold to the touch. She is not very warm. So she is not warm-blooded, so she's not producing her own body heat. So she's cold-blooded. She doesn't have hair. Weirdly enough, I picked the one lizard that we have that gives birth to live young. So she does actually give birth to live young. Other lizards won't. They lay eggs. And she also can't produce milk. So I guess she isn't a mammal. She is actually a reptile. So reptiles have scales. They're cold-blooded. They have these sort of specialized jaws. So you're absolutely right. This skink is not a mammal. So I wanted to show you guys an example of a creature that wasn't a mammal, just in case you guys weren't quite getting what was and was not a mammal. So the scales kind of give it away. Mammals don't have scales, but she's got scales all up and down her body here. And I know with the shine of the light, it kind of looks like they're slimy. They're not. they're very just smooth and solid. Now this blue-tongued skink, blue-tongued skinks are native to Australia. And what they do is they hang out in fields, or I guess nowadays, mostly people's yards. And they will just eat pretty much anything that comes in front of them. So they'll eat bugs, they'll eat plants, they'll eat delicious pieces of fruit like the ones that we gave her today. We also gave her some delicious clover for her to eat. So she will just eat pretty much anything that she can come across. If you notice, they're very long and they've got these tails. If they feel really threatened, they can actually pop off their tail, like just straight up remove it, and their tail will wiggle around. And if, say, a predator like a dog or something is pretty close, it will go after the tail because the tail's moving around and they'll make a hasty getaway. Some lizards can regrow their tails afterwards. She can't, but they've got this really long body. They're not particularly fast, but if they feel really threatened, they'll stick their face, they'll open their mouth and stick their tongue out and really just make a show of the fact that their mouth is blue. And they will also pee and poop everywhere, because if they're disgusting, nothing really wants to touch them. It's kind of hard to spot, but she does have ears. They're on the back of her head right here. There are these holes. So she can actually hear. She can hear really well. She can hear behind her, but her ears are not on the outside of her body. They are on the inside of her body, which is a little bit strange. Does anybody have any questions about Blue Jean, my blue-tongued skink?
Cam, what's your question? Can it eat people?
She's a little too small to be able to eat people, but even if she was capable of it, I doubt she would. Blue-tongued skinks are kind of lazy. They'll kind of just lie in a field and wait and eat grass or bugs or whatever comes past them. And actually, their biggest threat right now are dogs, people's dogs. People will walk their dogs, and they like to walk their dogs around fields and parks and things like that. And the dog will get curious and see this skink and then attack it. And the skink won't survive an encounter with a dog.
Or it's like put their tongue out.
Any other questions about my blue-tongued skink here?
Olivia?
He eated bug?
Yep, they eat bugs.
Yeah.
He likes the bug.
Any other questions?
No.
Okay. Well, so let's do a little bit of review. What makes a mammal a mammal? They got hair. They got they give live birth. They produce milk, and they are warm-blooded. Those are the 4 things that make a mammal a mammal. So other things like reptiles either don't have any or don't have most of those. So like in this case, this skink gives birth to live young, but she doesn't have hair, she's not warm-blooded, and she doesn't produce any milk. So she's definitely not a mammal. So she might meet one of the criteria, but not all 4 of them. So hopefully, as you guys head out today, you'll be able to look at all of the animals around you and decide which ones are mammals and which ones are not. Are there any closing questions you guys have, or comments or concerns?
Any questions?
No.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Well, I hope you guys have a good rest of your day. And everybody can just say bye to Blue Jean here. And you guys have a great rest of your day.
What do y'all tell him?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you guys for coming. If you guys didn't come, I'd just be kind of sitting here hanging out with my blue-tongued skink and nobody to share it with. So you guys have a good rest of your day then. Bye.